Sometimes it's hard to say goodbye. Welcome in to another bittersweet edition of Musings from the Mountains, a video podcast presented by WVSports.com. I am your host, Keenan Cummings, and I'm joined by
Do I say it this
who are
time?
you? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm staff writer Patrick Kotnik.
Soon to be ex-staff writer, but we'll get to that at the end. Before we do that, let's go into what's happening with West Virginia football. Right now, some big news in the last 12 hours. West Virginia doesn't have a football schedule yet, but we do have an idea of what it could look like. The Big 12 is voted to have 9 conference games, 1 out-of-conference game. If you look at that on the surface, that's good news for West Virginia. Why is that good news? They had 1 out-of-conference game left, and it was a home game, which is the requirement by the Big 12. West Virginia plays Eastern Kentucky, FCS opponent. When will that game be? Will that game happen? That is still a question, but West Virginia does not have to go outside their comfort zone to fill a schedule now. They can slot Eastern Kentucky. Maybe that September 12th date is originally scheduled. Maybe they move it up. That kind of depends on what happens with the Big 12 as a whole. They are supposed to set their conference schedule, which at this point could be pretty much what it already was with a few minor adjustments. Could be a completely new slate. Could be somewhere in between. Sometime between mid to late September is when that's going to begin. We should have that date sometime soon, sometime in the next couple of days. Pat, what are your thoughts on the scheduling model? Did the Big 12 get it right?
I would say this is about what you would expect. I mean, you're seeing the SEC kind of take a similar approach like this. We were already kind of expecting like a mid to late September start. Out of all the potential options, I would say this one made the most sense. I mean, you could still play, like I said, you have 10 games, 9 of those, conference games. You don't have to struggle too much to find a non-conference opponent. If you're West Virginia, like I said, you already have Eastern Kentucky. I would say out of all the options on the table, this one seemed the most logical. And we'll just kind of see what happens from here.
Yeah, I think that this one gives you the kind of the most flexibility at this
Mm-hmm.
time. If something does happen, you're able to move games around, push games up. The Big 12 Conference Championship, originally scheduled for December 5th, could now be played the 12th or the 19th. That gives you 2 additional weekends on the back end. Obviously, you have these weekends on the front end. So we'll see how the finals. But I think of all the options, this is one. It aligns you pretty much with every other Power 5 league outside the ACC. And when you're playing, at least down with schedules, it's a good sign you're able to get 10 games on the schedule to at least compare to what other leagues are going to do. So I think the Big 12 got it right. Now West Virginia has to ask itself, does it just go ahead and play Eastern Kentucky? Does it look for a different home opponent? There have been some teams floating around, Appalachian State, Bowling Green, Miami of Ohio, regional MAC schools, regional Sunbelt schools, Conference USA schools that you could slot there. I think the work is already done, really. You don't need to go look for another opponent as long as FCS football is played. Host Eastern Kentucky, go on a schedule, and then play your conference slate. Deal for West Virginia, the current circumstances. Looking at some other things, West Virginia's game with Florida State, as you can tell, is officially canceled. That was announced today. No surprise there. The ACC kind of made that decision for them. And then the Big 12 only further solidified that by saying, you can't play any teams unless you're having a home game. So goodbye to that game. Unfortunately, it's going to be tough to reschedule it. I've looked down the road. Florida State is pretty loaded on their schedule. You'd have to have kind of a neutral site contest because that's what this was, or a home and home. And right now, Florida State's booked, West Virginia's booked for 2025. Florida State has got Florida and Alabama for 2 years, and then they follow that up with Florida and Georgia. So they've got a lot on their plate. Recruiting news. West Virginia's still looking for transfers, at least one. Tony Fields, transfer linebacker from Arizona, is down to a final 3 of West Virginia, Texas, Minnesota. He told me that he's expected to make his decision very soon. That's kind of what I got from him. I think all 3 schools are in the mix here. He likes the fact that he can come into West Virginia and play. This is a guy that's played 37 games, started 3 years. The second 3-year starter that West Virginia is actually going after from Arizona this offseason after previously landing safety Scotty Young. So this guy's played over 2,300 snaps at the Power 5 level. That's going to help your defense. Right, Pat? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we also have to point out too that they also filled a slot with they finally got an offensive lineman. You know, that's something that's kind of been in the works for a while. In the former UVA Virginia offensive lineman Jaquay Hubbard, they
Yeah.
finally filled that one. So I believe that they still have one more scholarship to fill as a result of Joseph Lopatelli making his way to Maryland now instead of West Virginia. So I mean, this staff is always looking. We've talked about it a lot. I mean, the staff is always looking to add talent in different ways, whether that's through transfers, JUCO guys. They're going to do what they can to get the best talent they can on the roster, and this is just another example of that.
As I alluded to at the beginning, though, a bittersweet episode of this show. This will be the final episode with Man in the Controls. The young Padawan is moving on and taking a job elsewhere. I'll let him explain, but I just wanted to say, personally, it's been great working with you, Pat. I've enjoyed it. It's been exciting to watch you grow over the years from a young, feeble, scared freshman to the mighty man you become.
Well, yeah, as Keenan said, I've recently accepted a job with the Bradford Era in Bradford, Pennsylvania. So I'll, be starting here very soon, officially, and then hopefully make my way up there, move up there here within the next week or two. Like I said, I've posted on social media. I posted on our message board. Working for WVSports.com has been by far one of the best experiences I've had. I have to thank Vernon Bailey, our publisher, owner of the site. Can't talk
Old
today.
parachute pants.
I gotta, thank him for, taking a chance on me as a young, at that time, beardless freshman. I know that's probably hard for you to believe. Young
Glad
beardless
that changed.
freshman. And over the years, I mean, Keenan, it's been such an honor, such a pleasure to be able to work with you. I mean, you're definitely one of the best, if not the best, in the business when it comes to covering West Virginia. So, it's been awesome to work side by side with you through all these football games, basketball games, a couple baseball games here or there. Had a lot of great times. I mean, from that road trip down to Charlotte for the West Virginia Tennessee game, getting stranded on our way down to Cincinnati what was that, a couple of years ago, last year. I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. I really appreciate our subscribers. Any of you who've watched this podcast for following my work, over the past 4 years. Like I said, covering West Virginia has been, an experience I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. I'm really thankful for it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be moving on. I'm excited to for a new chapter, for a new journey. But I mean, it is going to be bittersweet to leave this place. But I'm really thankful for everything that Morgantown, West Virginia, and WVSports.com has brought me. And like I said, just thank you all. Thank you all so much for helping me grow over the past 4 years, and just for everything, for everything. It's been great.
Take everything you learn from me and forget it, and you will have a bit of success professionally. No, but seriously, we will miss Patrick. The future of this show.
I'll miss you guys.
The future of this show is still up in the air. I'm going to try to continue it. I've got to learn how to use some technology a little bit. AO technology. I got to learn how to do that a little bit. So we will be announcing a new staff member here soon.
And you guys are going to like him too. You guys are going to love him too.
Comes with good pedigrees from Patrick himself. So we will see. But thank you, Patrick, for tuning in and watching this show with me and Pat over the last year. It's been almost exactly a year since the show began. Have fun, be safe, and tune in again next time for another edition of Musings from the Mountains.